fans, do you want to win your share of $100,000? Simply enter the houseofboxing.com Fight Night Prediction Challenge. Compete with boxing fans around the world. Simply head over to houseofboxing.com and sign up now.
This is Jared Parry for Boxing Social in association with houseofboxing.com and William Hill. I'm delighted to be joined by Shane McGuigan. Adam Azim Media Day here in London.
Yeah.
Big fight. He's got a European title shot. How are you feeling about that one?
Great. It's a fantastic opportunity for him. He's been busy this year. He's been busy last year as well. So, yeah, he's in a really good place. He's only 21 years of age. He's get a chance to fight. I think it's his 10th fight now, fight for a European title. So, can't complain.
I was going to say 10 fights in the European title. It's a really, really quick progression.
Yeah.
Are you happy with the speed of this progression?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of fights for us at this level now. So once we win, we'll be looking at Enoch Paulson is probably going to have to happen. You got the likes of Harlem Eubank boxing, Timo Schwarzkopf. You got Dalton Smith that's in and around it. I genuinely believe Dalton Smith is a fight that they could drag out till they both get to world level. So yeah, really happy with that. I think there's a lot of options for us that in the next 12 months to keep him progressing, but without moving on to world level. And I think that's what he needs. And it also allows him to do 12 rounds, 4 times or whatever, and build up. But look, you never know what the opportunities are going to present themselves at the top level. If a belt comes vacant, or you've got O'Hara Davies as well back to fight for the WBA. You've got Lopez that's just won the WBO as well. So there's a lot of movement. You've got Devin Haney come up and boxing Regis Prograis. So there's a lot of movement at the top level. But I think that will settle before Adam gets his chance to get up there.
Before I get into talking about the top level, the domestic scene itself, which does bridge into the top level, is busting at that division. Obviously, you got O'Hara Davies, like you said, is about to go in for a fight for a world title. You've got Jack Catterall, who is on the fringe of going back into another world title fight. And then when you got Adam, you got Dalton Smith, like you said, you got Sean McComb as well, who's in a big fight now as well, coming up against Sam Maxwell, former Commonwealth champion. It's a very good division to be a part of domestically.
Yeah, and also you got Pierce O'Leary as well. I think he's a 140, maybe 135, but there's a lot of good fighters in the division. I mean, we're just chatting to a previous journalist earlier about how Chris Billam-Smith's in a stacked division, with the cruiserweights as well. So it's nice to see that. Sometimes you're going to get starved of opportunity domestically, and you have to get in foreign opponents. But I think even the likes of Harlem Eubank, he's a decent name. He's doing a lot of good as well. So yeah, there's plenty there. And obviously Jack Catterall's going to be boxing an old, tired Jorge Linares. I think he'll look good against that one. And O'Hara Davies has been inactive, but I think he's just signed with Golden Boy, hasn't he? So be interesting to see his next steps. But yeah, Josh Taylor's just moved up to 147, but it's been a great division for a while, and I think we're lucky to have a lot of competition in it.
You mentioned CBS there, Chris Billam-Smith. Spoke to him earlier. He said he still hadn't got the date, but I think he said that he's looking by the end of next week. Hopefully something's tied up. How frustrating has it been that he hasn't had? We know he wants to get out by the end of the year, but he hasn't had that date set in stone for him.
That's boxing. You got to work with broadcasters. You got to work. The broadcasters are also looking at other channels and other promoters as well. There's a lot that goes on. There's a lot of politics that goes on behind the scenes, and especially when you're at world level, there's a lot of stuff that has to get ticked off before you can announce the fight. And I think we're happy with where we're at with Sky and Ben Shalom. They've done a great job for Chris Billam-Smith. Can't thank them enough. Really, brought 3 shows down to Bournemouth, and hopefully we can bring a 4th. So as a world champion, and I think in the next couple of weeks they can get something tied up and we can have some news.
While we talk about world champions in your gym, Ellie Scotney, great performance just a couple of weeks ago against Laura Griffer on the Opetaia Thompson undercard. So firstly, it's a bit of a double barrel question. Firstly, how happy are you with how Ellie's progressing? Obviously she got to the world title, she beat Shanika Johnson in great fashion, she's defended it very well. How happy with the progression, and how soon until we see unifications?
I think unifications have to come next. I think Ellie is destined for big nights. I think she's destined for big fights as well, get her teeth stuck into it. And almost I think she's going to relish the opportunity to go in as an underdog, or someone that maybe people 40% or 30% of people think that she's going to win, and 60, 70 think the other person's going to win. I think that's when she's going to get her teeth stuck into something. I think our last opponent was very awkward and strong and tough, 8 losses, but every single one of those losses she's given a good account of herself, boxed for world honours as well, so, and fit and durable, and hard to look good against. I think Ellie boxed really well for the first 4 or 5 rounds, then got dragged into a little bit, and I think it was a bit one-paced, but she did what she had to do, and I think it's very hard to make a dent on someone as tough as her opponent from Argentinian girls made of nails. So I think whenever we get the opportunity to fight for a unification fight, where she's in a dangerous situation, I think that's when you see the best, because I see it every day in the gym. She's such an amazing talent, great to watch, fantastic to watch. Just hasn't transferred that into the fight yet, and I think that's going to be down to opposition.
So, obviously, the main event that night you went in attendance for, and I'll come on to why in a minute. Jai Opetaia, obviously, Billam-Smith was sat ringside. A bit of an unknown quantity to some, Opetaia coming over here, but he put on a very, very devastating performance, to say the least, against Jordan Thompson. So, is that another fight that you look down the line? Because I think there was links towards Billam-Smith and Opetaia before the Lawrence fight, and now, do you look at that now as a big unification?
It's huge. It's huge. There's going to be some politics there, but I think it's nothing that can't be made. I think we're in a business that promoters having to work with each other now, and I think that's a mega fight for us. I mean, ultimately, you've got Richard Riakporhe there, crying out for a chance to box Chris Billam-Smith. Lawrence Coley wants his rematch as well. But we want Richard Riakporhe to go and win a world title, whether it's against Guillemarian or you got the WBC, Badu Jaxis being champion in recess, and I think Noel Giva is going to be boxing Makabu, which is a strange choice, but there's going to be a different world champion at WBC as well. So we want unification fights, and I think if it could be against another Brit, then great. But if not, then we'll box Opetaia. He's coming on fine form. He's probably got to be put down as the number 1 in the division, because he beat the man that was the man, which is Bradis, and he beat him well. And I think Jordan Thompson was thrown in deep, and he took him apart real quick.
On that with Chris as well, he was telling me it was always his dream to box at the Vitality. He's done it. He said his next dream is Vegas, and he put a tweet out over the weekend about Zurdo, Ramirez and Joe Smith Jr. He's quite welcome to that Gilberto Ramirez fight out in Vegas. Would you welcome that?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I think the broadcasters put a lot of time and effort into Chris Billam-Smith, and I think we have to honour our side and box over here, for at least a couple of fights. But then after that, he comes through them, well, and I think that those are the fights that we like. A chance to go to Vegas, bring a crowd out there as well. It's when he set out to become a professional boxer, he's ticked every box, and this was always, the Vitality was always a huge a box that was sitting there, and he never knew he was ever going to get the opportunity to do it. So imagine if he boxes there a couple of times and then he gets a chance to go to Vegas. I mean, it's what careers are made of.
Yeah, it's just what dreams are made of, that is really for Chris. But I mentioned you weren't there for the Opetaia Thompson fight because you had to travel across London. Caroline Dubois picks up the IBO title. Very, very solid performance. Just how long until we see her fighting for bigger titles?
It's down to Katie Taylor, what she's going to do. I think Katie Taylor's boxing end of November against Chantel up at 140. Whether we can put pressure on, the IBF, the WBA, WBO, WBC, Mauricio as well. So, we've worked with them in the past a lot, and Gilberto Mendoza, they're all very fair, and I think they have a poster girl in Katie Taylor. But they have to understand that there's a new generation coming through, and there's no better person to fly that flag for the lightweight division in Caroline Dubois, and I believe she beats everybody. I've been saying it for a while. I generally believe she beats everyone.
Okay, so coming away a bit now from yourself and your gym, we had an announcement 2 weeks ago, signed Oleksandr Usyk, Tyson Fury, the fight everyone wants to see. Do you still believe it happens? Just because Chris said it earlier when I spoke to him, he said just having a poster that says signed isn't really confirmation of anything until you get a date and an official fight poster.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's got the opportunity to do it, it's definitely Saudi, and I think they have to do it within a time frame. But I don't think that time frame is unrealistic. I think you got the Ngannou fight, and how many rounds is that going to go? Is it scheduled for 12? I'm not even sure. So 10 rounds. So it'll come through that pretty much injury free, and I think. He shouldn't waste the camp. He should get himself back into camp, and if they could do it in February, then that would be amazing. It's just my only concern is that the person that holds this up is Tyson Fury. His resume is amazing. He's gone to Germany to beat Klitschko. He's gone to America to he didn't get the first one, but he should have got the first one. And then on the next two, he knocked out Deontay Wilder. He's had a couple of homecomings, but really. He knows how dangerous this fight is for himself and his reputation, because he could retire a great. He really could with his resume. And I think if you look at it, AJ and Eddie Hearn thought Usyk was going to be tricky and awkward, but I think they always thought that the size was going to prevail, and I think it didn't prevail. And then against Daniel as well, he was more than comfortable. He's almost he's more comfortable in there with the heavyweights because he's able to use his speed. And I think Tyson Fury's always been that guy that's been able to use his speed, and he's big, but he's got fast hands for a big lad, and he's quite fleet-footed for a big lad. So he knows his boxing, Tyson, and he knows what he does well, and he knows what he has to have in front of him to make himself look good. And I don't think Usyk's that opponent that he feels comfortable standing in front of. But if there's enough money on the table and they put it forward, then I think it should go ahead.
Final one from me. It's a boxing event this weekend, a bit away from the norm for many of us fans. KSI Tommy Fury. I'd just like to get your thoughts on it. It's Tommy Fury. He looks set to become a professional boxer. Went down the reality star route with Love Island, and then is now sort of graduated over to that sort of side of boxing, I should say. And you got KSI. Then they're putting bums on seats everywhere. They're doing massive numbers for everyone. I want to get your take on it as a professional trainer.
Listen, it's just what it is. It's a bit gimmicky, but at the same time, it is great business, and you can't knock it. For me, I've got a cousin. I remember I was training the likes of David Hay and George Groves, and big nades in my gym at the time, and they were absolutely mesmerised that I had KSI in the gym, and we did a video. It was like, which was alarming for me because I'm not into the YouTube scene, but. Those kids are now 20 years of age, and they're young adults, and they're influential in what we see on a day-to-day basis. And I think it's great business. Tommy Fury is a level above that. Is he going to go on to do great things as a professional boxer? Maybe not. But in his words, he said, "I'm going to clear out the YouTube scene before going on and doing stuff as a professional boxer." Maybe he makes enough money, and it would be absolutely ludicrous for him not to take the opportunities, because he has the profile. He's gone on Love Island, got an amazing profile. Him and Molly Mayer is a dream couple, and he knows how hard boxing is because he's been around it a long time. And he thinks, well, that's not quite as hard, and I can make loads of money and also win the fights. And then and then after that, I can see where I want to go. But I think he wins on Saturday night. I think he's going to be too experienced, and he's got good enough jab. I just think the size is massively in his favour. I think KSI's definitely improved, but really, if you boiled him down, he'd probably be like a super middleweight, whereas Tommy would be really boiled into light heavyweight. He blows right up, and I think he's got that long reach as well. And I can see him potentially knocking KSI out. But it's entertainment, and they're wearing horsehair gloves, and they're so unpredictable because they're so new to boxing that they throw in these mad combinations. You got to be switched on. And Tommy will have to be switched on, but I think it's just one of them, and it's going to be exciting whilst it lasts for sure.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Shane, speaking to Boxing Social.